So I just saw Spider-Man Homecoming. Well, I say just saw, but I actually watched it about 11 hours ago and have been too lazy to get up and crank this out. But anyways, here's my review. I'm going to do the first half as a non-spoiler section and then later move into some spoiler territory. Overall, I really enjoyed the film. It felt like something a lot different to the previous movies before, mainly because there was no origin story for Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, and the character was already introduced in Civil War, allowing him to be developed here from the very start of the movie. Another thing that helped make this film stand out from other Spider-Man flicks was the fact that they actually cast someone of similar age to Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong, I love Maguire and Garfield's take on the character respectively, but sometimes it was a bit hard to believe that they were 16 or something. In the film we get to focus on Peter being a student, watching his day-to-day life and seeing how he has to balance all the responsibilities of being Spider-Man. Now, this is one of the things that made Spider-Man 2 so great, and God no, not the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I mean Raimi's Spider-Man 2, cause yeah. The movie has a lot of humour mixed with a good dose of action, and I actually think it was handled well, especially considering that this is director John Watts' first massive blockbuster flick. I think he managed to pull off both the comedy and action really well. Overall, I think only a couple jokes maybe didn't land in the entire film, but I think that was probably due to the fact that the 35 trailers for this film gave a few away, and by the time I was watching them in the film I was a bit sick of hearing them. Everyone in my theatre seemed to enjoy the film. One person went as far as to clap at the end, which kind of confused me because, like, why are you clapping? Is the entire cast and crew in the audience or something? Like, another thing that this film gets right are its characters. Everyone gets fully fleshed out, and I didn't think any of the cast didn't get a chance to shine. Two standouts in particular for me were Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Michael Keaton's Vulture. Tom Holland was an amazing Spider-Man and an even better Peter Parker. He definitely nailed that role, and I'm happy that he's the MCU Spider-Man. Well, at least for now. And like I said, Keaton's villainous portrayal of the Vulture was pretty great too. A common complaint for these Marvel movies is that the villains are always weak and let the movie down, being unmemorable, underdeveloped and pretty crappy. Honestly, I think this is one of the rare cases where Marvel just got the villain spot on. He was great. And he also doesn't really have any relationship or connection to Spider-Man, and he's just kind of a dick, which made him all the more evil and menacing. Like, I could actually feel stakes in this movie too. I felt genuinely worried for Spider-Man at some points. And I won't give anything away yet, but there's just this scene in this car and oh my god, it's pretty amazing. The plot was very flowing and I don't think there was any points where I got bored or was taken out of the movie. There's always something going on that keeps the audience involved, something that previous Spider-Mans failed to do for me. The music in this film was also fairly good. I know music isn't something everyone cares about in the films, but to me I think it's a very important part of the film's overall outcome. Michael Giacchino did the music, and for the most part he did not disappoint. When I first heard some of the soundtrack, I thought it sounded a little basic and bland. However, when I was watching the film it didn't take me out of it at all, and it actually helped me get way more into the scenes. As I said, the action in this film was handled very well, and all the stunts, animation, visual effects and the sets were all outstanding. The characters are true to the source material, the acting is great and the humour is done very well. If I had to find something I didn't like about this film, I'd definitely have to be nitpicking. People were worried that Iron Man would be in the film too much, but that's really a nothing complaint. He's in the movie, but he doesn't exactly steal the spotlight from Spider-Man. He has more of a cameo, if anything. The only problem I'd have with it is that it feels a bit forced when the movies keep trying to show me that it's a part of the Marvel world. Like, the first few times they address it, it's fine, but by the end of the movie I feel like I'm just tired of hearing about the Avengers. In all fairness, they had to make it very clear that this movie was a new and different thing and took place in the Avengers world. So yeah, I think I'm starting to dip into the bad stuff now. Being honest, there's just so much to talk about, and I'm trying to keep this review fairly short. Anyways, now we're moving on to the spoiler section, so if you don't want anything from the movie spoiled for you, here's your chance to leave now. Okay, so the big twist of the film came towards the end, and it revealed that the Vulture is Liz's father, and Liz is Peter's love interest. Now, I read about this a few days before watching the movie, so I kinda spoiled it for myself. But when I was watching the movie, I wasn't really thinking about it, and when it was revealed, it still shocked me. This is when that car scene I mentioned earlier takes place. It's so tense, and you can't help but experience the feelings that Peter is going through in that situation. Another big thing comes right at the end of the movie, as in, like, the very last shot. Aunt May sees Peter in his Spider-Man suit, and it's really unexpected, but I think it's a great, new and diverse move for this universe. This creates a whole new problem for Peter, and means he has to balance more stuff now, proving again that he must be responsible for his powers. Now, in terms of other spoilers, there isn't really much to give away. There are a few Easter eggs here and there, but surprisingly not many when comparing the film to other MCU movies, or even other Spider-Man movies. Anyways, these will probably get covered in another video in future, so I'll leave it here. Overall, I really enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming. It didn't disappoint, though my opinion could likely change over time. As it stands now, Spider-Man Homecoming is currently my favourite Spider-Man film, and I'm giving Spider-Man Homecoming an 8.8 out of 10.